on Daily Blast Live.
Donald Trump calls for people to protest, claiming his indictment is happening soon. Will he really be arrested? And could this be another January 6th? A Gen X TikToker is going viral for her unconventional approach to aging, how she's helping women over 50 look and feel fabulous. Plus, Taylor Swift kicks off her Eras Tour with a 3-hour show, multiple costume changes, and an incredible stage dive.
Oh my gosh.
Get real.
No.
Y'all, just stop. This is a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll. Welcome to DBL, our chat. Let me tell you, it is on fire because here's the thing. Everyone's wondering, will we be seeing former President Donald Trump in handcuffs? Now, over the weekend, Trump posted on his social media platform saying he is going to be arrested tomorrow by Manhattan's district attorney over alleged hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Now, Trump also repeatedly called for folks to protest and, quote, take our nation back, unquote. Now, there is no word from authorities if Trump will actually be arrested, but clearly there's a lot to talk about here. Let's start with Trump's potential arrest. What do you think the chances are that Trump is right? And what do you think of these charges? I mean, Toury, you follow politics. There's never been a president who's been arrested. Will we see fingerprints? Will we see a mugshot?
I don't think so. I think we will see, I don't even think you'll see this. I think you'll have him be surrendered to the police. As a former president, I don't think they're going to take him down and perp walk him. I think that's what he wants. I think that's a campaign ad. I think that's real good to rev up the base, so I don't think they're going to give him that. I do think, though, he will be taken in for an indictment, and basically all he did is he paid hush money to Stormy Daniels, allegedly. That wasn't really the big deal. The cover-up was, and he made fraudulent documents, and that ran into election laws and campaign finance, so he got himself in trouble. But, Sam, after that, there's a whole list of other things that he's in for. Racketeering, official documents, conspiracy to defraud, contempt of court. This one is hitting because of statute of limitations. And yeah, it's an offense, and he's going to be taken in for it.
I was just thinking, normally shows have graphics for that, but Toury just holds a paper up.
She really does carry that paper.
Yeah.
No, that's not a prop.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not that surprised by this. You know, when you start to talk about the people that you want to take down that are almost bigger than life, they took down Al Capone with his taxes,
exactly.
Tax evasion. You don't get him for murder. You don't get him for extortion. You get them for the little things, the legal things. So this isn't that shocking. And as it goes, Sam, in terms of his supporters, and you talking about revving that base, I think they did that. I think they did that on January 6th. They revved that car up and they saw what it could do, but so did the people in that car. And all the people that were at January 6th are still suffering for that, Erica. They lost their jobs, they lost their family, lost their freedom. And I don't know if you can get people to show up at a personal residence at a golf resort the same way you could at the Capitol.
Well, let's get to that beat, to your point, and then I want to hear what Erica and Jeff think. So let's talk about Trump's call for protest. Authorities in New York are already preparing for mass demonstrations. Meantime, some of his supporters are suggesting protesters create a, quote, patriot moat around Mar-a-Lago that would prevent authorities from getting in. And finally, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he doesn't think people should protest, and went on to say, if you spoke to Trump, he doesn't believe people should either. So what do you think of this? Are you worried about the protests, Jeff?
I'm not. I don't, to Al's point, I think people are over the circus, right? There's always going to be a certain percentage of crazy people that do anything anyone tells them. I don't think it's going to be the January 6th turnout. I don't think it went the way anyone was expecting it to go. I don't know what they were expecting. But we know as a country, I think, like, that's wrong. You don't attack our Capitol. And now anything that he's aligning with these people, first of all, it's Tuesday. Don't you have a job? What are you doing? You're going to go stand arm in arm and make a moat? You're insane. You're an insane person. So there will be people there. It will be a circus, and there will be a media circus covering this, right? Because there's a crazy percentage amount of people on social media. There's a crazy percentage in people in real life, right? So this will be a thing, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near January 6th.
I'm going to be surprised either way. I'm going to be surprised if there's enough mows in the moats to make it.
Mows in the moats.
Like,
I love that.
Like I'll be
Very
surprised with that. I'll be surprised if there aren't. I'm gonna be surprised either way. Like, it's just I can't predict these things. Who is actually predicting these things? Like, we are trying to make sense out of absolute nonsense when it really comes to how many people could potentially show up. And I wouldn't be surprised if thousands of people came.
And let me-
I wouldn't be surprised if 5 people came.
I'll tell you who won't be surprised, Tori, don't lose your train of thought, is the police. Now, for whatever reason, they were, it was a skeleton crew working on the 6th, which was very strange.
Yeah.
We never got the answer to that. How'd that happen? But this time, people, the law enforcement will be prepared. So if they think that they're going to be fighting guys wearing beach shorts and fist fighting, the authorities will be properly prepared for a patriot moat, or the mows in the moat.
The mows in the, let me just also make this clear because we're kind of glossing over it. Don't forget that this is a former president asking a mob to be summoned at will, for him to be above the law. That is clearly what's happening. I just want to break it all down to make it that. This is a man saying, I'm above the law. This is prosecutorial misconduct. He broke a law. He should be indicted and charged. He's asking for a mob to literally summon. That's what dictators do. That's what authoritarians do. That's not what democratic former presidents do. So I want to see him arrested. I'm just letting you know, this is a much bigger deal. We're sort of laughing about it. This man thinks he owns and is bigger than our law enforcement. He wants to dissolve the FBI and the DOJ. That is terrifying, and we should be acknowledging that.
Well said. Okay, so I know that a lot of you are wondering about DeSantis and how he is weighing in all of this. So let's see. I believe we have, if we could scroll prompter, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis waited until today to comment. He said he's seen the rumors swirl, but has not seen any facts yet. So he said he doesn't know what's going to happen. He also criticized the Manhattan DA. So was DeSantis, in your opinion now, smart to speak out? Do you think he's saying enough? And what do you think about, a lot of people are trying to break down his statement about, well, these aren't facts. Is that a dig at Trump?
Well, I don't know if it's a dig at Trump. I think it's just proof positive of what I've always thought, is that politicians don't lead, they follow. And I feel like this is a statement that's going to be a placeholder statement until they see how the Trump supporters react, until they see how it's received by the media. Because if for some reason he's exonerated, there'll be a statement saying, see, I told you the DA was corrupt the whole time and we need to fight against this. And if Trump goes down, he's like, there goes one opponent. What's up next? So, but he's also keeping his fan base kind of close to make sure, because he can't alienate them, because he needs them to make a run in the general.
That's what we call in D.C. walking the tightrope, and he did it really well. He did it really well. Now, he's an attorney. He knows how to walk that tightrope. I'm going to keep
They also call it in the circus.
They do too. He's going to keep the Trump supporters. He's going to put a little blast, but he's not saying anything. This is a wah 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 wah. You got wah wah. What is that, Charlie Brown? You know, the teachers. Yeah. That statement was bupkis, but it saved him time.
I don't know the facts, but they're lying.
Correct.
Let me ask you guys this: if Trump gets arrested, do you think that will actually help his campaign? Can he even run after that?
Yes, you can. You can run from jail. Marion Barry, our mayor, certainly won.
Okay. Do you think that'll rally his base more?
I don't know, like Erica, I can't get the temperature on if it's going to make him a martyr, right? And he's going to use it for his campaign. For me, I don't know why you don't want to distance yourself. You know what I mean? If you're following a man like that, you have DeSantis waiting in the wings. That seems maybe more sensible. I know not to most people. No, right. But if you put Trump next to him, it seems more sensible, right? Mm-hmm. DeSantis is trying to stay out of it because that's Trump's tactic, right? Hey, well, I was going to say, whatever, a derogatory comment, right? That's what Trump does. And he attacks you with his words. And then he kind of puts you down. I think DeSantis should just sit back and let this play out, because it's kind of becoming, like I said, a circus at this point. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's happening in the state that he's the governor in. So I don't know if he can say nothing.
Well, he didn't say nothing.
I'm talking about like getting into.
Yeah, he said
a lot of words too.
It was just want. But he has to say want. You know what I mean?
That was a great
When
point.
would we find out tomorrow? Would it be in the morning?
My guess?
Yes.
5 o'clock, so it's after the news cycle. So it starts the news cycle at that point. But you don't want to give him the whole day of a perp walk and the fingerprint and the mugshot. Again, to me,
unless he wants that.
But that's what you don't want to give the person being charged what they want.
Right, and I don't know if he wants that. I don't know if it makes him electable. That
makes him a martyr.
The visual of a president in handcuffs is not good.
Makes him a martyr.
Coming up on DBL, today is the official start of spring, but have you already been wishing winter away? We're talking all about a new study that says a lot of people just can't handle the cold weather. And Taylor Swift kicked off her Eras tour over the weekend. Wait until you see the celebrity who showed up celebrating with the rest of the fans.
Somebody Somebody roll the clip.
Let's make sure we have Jeff's sex tape.
Wow, things are getting spicy here at DBL.
Cold-hearted snake, look into his eyes.
Let's roll that again, everybody.
Hello. I'm curious still about when we would see him go to jail. Tori, you thought after 5 o'clock or around 5 o'clock after the news.
Well, he'll probably
be all the evening news.
True, but you won't get footage. What he wants is footage because any publicity is good publicity, even bad. So he's going to come in the back door. This is my speculation. He's going to come in the back door. He has got lawyers. They're very famous, rich lawyers. They don't take him and drag him out and SWAT. It just doesn't happen that way unless there's like a moat of people, which might happen. But I'm saying usually they're going to take him. It's very formal. They slip him in the back door, and you don't see any of it. You don't get what a lot of people on the chat are saying is, I want to see him in handcuffs. So does he. Just know that could backfire spectacularly. You might get to see the mugshot. You might get to. There is a mugshot that will be taken, and he will be fingerprinted, and his DNA will be taken. We don't know that. Well, when you're taken in for a criminal, that's what will happen. So what's interesting to me is how will that get leaked, and how will that play? Will he use it? Trump, if I know Trump, he'll use that mugshot as the next campaign ad, and he'll be like, it is rigged. It is rigged. No, I think he'll do this. He'll look like this.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stick his little waddle up.
Or maybe he'd be like annoyed that face he does when he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that if he looks strong I mean, if there are people that feel like the country is constantly going after him, I could see how that mugshot could be used to. Because I think he does need a little spark for this run.
A lot of his supporters have already pointed out comparing him to Nelson Mandela. Yeah.
I saw that on HuffPo.
I know.
He's being jailed for the wrongs that he's trying to right. That's where he can use it, exactly.
Welcome back to DBL. Oh, yes, I like the music. Happy spring, everyone. Today is the spring equinox, meaning it is the official start of the new season. I even spotted a tulip in my garden yesterday. Just a little peep of some green. I'm very excited. Okay, so speaking of which, there's a new survey of women out there, and a majority say they can't make it through 2 months of wintry weather. In fact, many say they are completely over the cold by the end of January. Turns out the survey found the major reason women hate winter. It has to do with self-confidence, with 49% of women saying winter leaves them feeling unconfident, mostly because of issues with their skin and dryness. What do we think of this?
I think it's sexist.
Well, what do you think?
Me and Al are going to form a moat around the women's bathrooms.
Two mows in a moat.
I get this completely. I get this. Look, I get really pale, I get really scaly, really dry, and I kind of put on weight because I'm hibernating like a bear. It's not a great look, okay? And I'm kind of sad because I haven't been outside and there's no sunshine. So it's kind of a bummer of February's hard. It's a slog.
Denver literally gets the most sunshine of any state, I think.
Not last
Or
February.
city.
Not this past February, right?
Of any city in the
But
United
it's
States.
unmotivating. Like, I have so much
Totally.
respect for your wife who still gets up, even when it's like 14 degrees out, and does her
walk.
Her walk.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, I love to go for a walk when the sun's out. I call those my gratitude walks, and that's when I pick up a leaf and I try and center myself and ground myself. But
Wake up, Al.
It needs to be sunshine and rainbows, Erica.
I
not
agree.
Snow and dreary clouds.
I mean, Jeff and I are from Chicago, so we're used to there being some gray days and some cold days.
Okay.
I mean, seasonal depression has been something that has affected me for quite some time, so I try to be more intentional, especially in the winter months, about doing things that are going to keep me active and like my brain, you know, working. But that being said, we live in one of the driest climates. It is so dry here. Like one time my face actually froze from the solid,
What do you
stone
mean?
face.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did. I
Erica
swear to you.
Cobb.
I swear to
Erica
you.
Cobb.
It happened.
Froze stone like
I
mine
am
was in the
telling
wardrobe.
you.
Come
It was.
on.
I'm telling you, and it
Timely
made
reference.
Narnia.
I'm telling you, because it's just important that, like, but because of that, I've been more, you know, on top of, like, skin stuff. So I can understand people feeling like if you haven't been on top of it, the winter is like a destroyer.
This has never crossed my mind before.
That's because you get to go to LA every weekend to see your kids.
But
you don't count.
But it don't. Like, I kind of I like it being cold. I like being a weirdo. I like hunkering down. I like shutting it down in the basement and shutting out the world for a little while.
So
I don't know if
that's
is that
not
weird?
true because you leave every weekend to be with your children and it's 74 degrees
Yes.
and beautiful. So no, you don't get to complain.
I don't get to complain.
No. What about you, Jeff? Because you
I'm sorry.
I know
I have children in a beautiful area.
you love a barbecue.
I do, and I still do it in the winter. I enjoy the seasons, I really do. It makes you appreciate summertime a little bit more, summertime shy. It got nutty, right? Because people were always so excited, right?
That
As
pool
soon
party.
as 42 degrees hits in March, you're like, can I get a table outside? You know, like, so you're excited. Here it's a little bit easier winter in Denver. The sun shines out all the time. I enjoy
had a hard
the
winter,
different
though.
seasons. Yeah, it rained, it snowed 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, dreadful. No, it was like a lot -10-degree weather. I mean, it was pretty cold.
It's like winter.
It's like winter.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming up on DBL, Taylor Swift pulls out all the stops for her latest tour. We're talking all about it next.
Okay, I get it. It's never fun to sit down and do your taxes, but many tax professionals say the sooner you do it, the better, to either get your refund faster or make sure your taxes are paid on time without any penalty. So with inflation and lower refunds on many tax returns, we wanted to look at whether people are filing earlier or later and why.
To get answers, we looked at data from the IRS and spoke with Jackson Hewitt Chief Tax Information Officer Mark Stieber. Right as the tax season opened, the week of February 3rd, IRS data shows filers were hot out of the gate. Total returns process was nearly up 30% compared to last year.
By comparison, 4 or 5 weeks ago, it was up double digits, both total volume, taxpayers who electronically filed, taxpayers who used a professional, and taxpayers who did it themselves.
But then
Then it slowed way down.
by the end of February, total returns processed was only up by 4.3%.
And then it slowed down because people are probably expecting lower refunds and putting it off, or may even have balance dues. We're seeing quite a bit of that.
The latest IRS data shows the average refund taxpayers are receiving is down from $3,400 a year ago to $3,000 today. And those stats show the amount of people who have filed their taxes at this point in the season is about the same as last year. Stieber says he expects to see a large number of people file at the very last minute.
About 55 million have filed so far. So that gives you about 110 million people that have, another 4 weeks or so to file and get those taxes done.
Those 11th hour filers, Stieber says, often owe money, and they're trying to postpone that painful payment to the bitter end. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
Wow, welcome back. Taylor Swift opened her Eras tour in Arizona over the weekend. This dive. Okay, here we go. Let's look at it. And dive was just one of the many stunts she pulled off during opening her show, which featured 44 songs, 16 backup dancers. There was at least 13 costume changes, all without T-Swift taking a single break. It was like 3 hours long. If you remember, this tour sold a record-breaking 2.4 million tickets on the first day alone, the most for any artist in a single day, which ended in a huge debacle as millions of fans were unable to secure tickets after waiting in the Ticketmaster queue for hours. But that didn't stop fans like actress Emma Stone from attending. I gotta watch this. Hold on, let me see. Is that her in the cowgirl hat?
No, she's in the black.
Oh, there she is.
She's singing it
okay,
out.
Yeah, she's jamming to You Belong With Me. I like it. And check out this dad and daughter, you guys, enjoying the show together. That makes me so happy. How cute is that? Even the security guards had a blast, like this woman dancing in the aisle. Oh yeah,
That's my favorite.
Yes.
Yes. Looking at that footage of the dad and daughter did make me laugh because when I took my daughter and her 2 best friends to go see SZA,
Just recently.
Yeah, so last week, actually. And so we drove and parked. And, you know, I'm taking a picture of them right in front of the stadium. And I'm like, let's go. And, like, they were kind of lingering. I was like, let's the show start? And they were like, can we? And I was like, it was the first time I had to do it.
Oh, my God.
They're like 16. They don't want to walk up to State Farm Arena
You
with
are
their
so
dad, like, hey,
lame.
see you at 7, you know. They were just like, all right,
Not
Doc.
7.
Yeah, they were just kind of lingering. I was like, where are we going? And they were like, oh, we're going.
No, you were a sister because she cut you out. Scissors.
That
was good. That was quick. That was good.
Yes,
That was good.
but it's a beautiful moment. But yeah, shout
What
out
do we
to that.
think about the opening now? Like, Tori, you as a Swiftie, do you feel like that, okay?
Unbelievable.
Measured up.
Unbelievable. When she jumped in, she swims the length of the stage. Obviously, I thought she did.
I thought
she actually went in the water,
yeah.
which was silly. But there's CGI of her swimming across the stage, and as she comes up, a wave jumps up on the stage, huge.
Oh, I thought she stage dived into the crowd.
No, it's supposed to look like she jumps into the water and then
pretty.
swims all the way there and then gets onto a cloud and climbs up. The production was fabulous. Let's just start with that. The second thing I'll say is this is a 33-year-old and she's doing an Eras tour. That's how many times she has reinvented herself from country to rock and roll to super pop. And I really can't name another artist, singer, songwriter who's written them all herself that has made such a big difference like Taylor Swift.
Jeff, what do you think?
I would go. Yeah,
gonna go?
I'm a fan of a big production. I know
That looks like a show,
I know those
right?
songs. Yeah, I know probably a lot of those songs. So I would definitely go. I'd feel better if I could bring my daughter or something, so I could blend in.
So
you know?
Just Jeff.
I'd go to like Bieber concerts and stuff with my buddies, and we like get in line for beers. I'm like, dude, nobody's here yet. And they're like, no, dude, everyone's 50.
Yeah. He's right.
is
Mark
so-
went to a,
That is
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Mark and I went to a Miley Cyrus show like 10 years ago. I had to for a show I was hosting called Pop Trigger. And I was excited, but I could not believe, yes, we were the oldest people
Is
there.
that true?
It was like 7th graders, 8th graders, sophomores, and juniors, and Mark.
That's
and
the best thing. First of all, that's really funny. But second of all, that's you saw the older security woman or whatever. You saw the dad and his dog. Everyone finds something to mesh with Taylor Swift, even if
agree.
it's just like shake it off, like you said, Al. There's something there that's digestible for everyone.
Right, and I like that song we bumped in with. I like
know.
that.
Lavender
that's
Haze.
definitely
Pretty.
my favorite Taylor
Yeah.
Swift song
Bathing
so
in
far.
milk?
Yeah, she was a woodland fairy during the pandemic.
And you're ruining it.
We'll be
Okay.
right back.
Sorry.
Sometimes it seems like the only thing as popular as TikTok is trying to ban TikTok. For years, lawmakers have feared that because the app is owned by a Chinese company, it could give the Chinese government influence over American users and access to their data. A bipartisan group of senators just introduced a bill they say is designed to address those concerns, and the Biden administration endorsed it. But could it actually result in a nationwide TikTok ban? Let's verify. Our sources: Senate Bill 686, Senator Mark Warner, the White House, the Department of Commerce, and the Department of Justice. The bill is called the Restrict Act, and it doesn't explicitly ban TikTok, but it makes such a ban possible. It instructs the Secretary of Commerce to investigate any information technology or communications companies that are owned or could be influenced by foreign adversaries to see if they pose a national security threat. Then it gives the Secretary broad authority to mitigate any dangerous transactions. So we can verify, yes, a bill currently in Congress could result in a ban on TikTok. But there are a lot of steps to get there. First, it has to pass the Senate and the House and be signed into law by the President. Then the Secretary of Commerce would have to choose to investigate TikTok specifically, find that it poses a threat, decide the best course of action would be a ban, and successfully defend that ban against legal challenges. As for how a ban would be implemented, we don't know for sure, but one option could be making it illegal for any American company to do business with TikTok. That would force Apple, Google, and others to remove it from their app stores. TikTok, for its part, says a ban would be a bad idea, calling it an act of censorship on its American users. Some lawmakers say they don't support a ban, but would like some restrictions on TikTok, which this bill could also allow. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Some doctors' offices are using the hashtag #VasMadness to encourage men to get a vasectomy in time for the NCAA tournament. But is March really a popular month for vasectomies? Let's verify. Our sources are the Mayo Clinic, a 2018 study on vasectomies in the U.S. published in the Urology Gold Journal, and urologist Dr. Ajay Nangia with the University of Kansas Health System. A vasectomy is a medical contraception procedure that stops sperm from getting into semen. The Mayo Clinic says it takes a person a few days to heal. Nangia tells Verify around 20 years ago, a urologist launched an ad campaign to convince people to get a vasectomy and spend their recovery time watching March Madness.
Initially, it was much more of a sensationalism, but actually started becoming true. An urban legend that actually became true.
One study estimates about 500,000 vasectomies are performed each year in the U.S. Most are performed in March or at the end of the year after many people meet their insurance deductible. So, yes, March is a popular month for vasectomies. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Okay, so we are, yep, a doggy mansion. I hear you. Okay, there we are. And this is the doggy mansion, you guys. So let me tell you about this. So a man paid $10,000. I believe he lives in Thailand.
Correct.
He bought this doggy mansion, could not wait to unveil it. And guess what happened?
What happened, Sam?
The dogs won't go in.
They won't.
No, they won't. They don't care about a $10,000 mansion.
I just would like to say that you could definitely be on Selling Sunset the way you just pulled that whole
Bravo,
story.
Samantha. I know.
It's so
How long before
trend.
that's a
Let me
show?
tell you.
Look how on trend it is. It's black and white. It looked like it may
minimalistic.
have had hardwood floors in there.
yes.
Look at, or maybe like a little carpet.
And what are we thinking about the siding choices?
I think it's beautiful. I think I would love to live in that tiny house.
I know the landscaping is amazing.
$10,000 just to me, like I know I'm going to be the buzzkill, but like how many people could you have helped?
You absolutely should say that.
Dude.
Why is that a buzzkill?
It's not.
That's what everybody's
like,
thinking.
That's so sad, especially in Thailand with such a diverse group of wealth. Like, I don't know. That makes me kind of feel ill.
It is. And when you know dogs better than anybody.
They don't care.
They love fresh, warm laundry.
Yeah.
They love a blanket that was in the sun maybe for
Barnaby
10
likes
minutes.
like mud. He's not the smartest.
Okay. If you're leaving us, you can watch the second half of the show online. Watch on YouTube, dailyblastlive.com, or our DBL mobile app. But if you get the second half of the show where you are, here is what's ahead. A 50-year-old fashion influencer will be here live to talk about her unconventional approach to aging. Plus, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are back together again with the release of their new film, and Ben is talking about how Viola Davis got involved.
Ads like this one are being shared online. They claim that the Biden administration is proposing massive cuts to Medicare Advantage, but the claim isn't true. Using these sources, I'll explain why two recent announcements from the Biden administration are likely behind the claims. Medicare is federal health insurance for anyone age 65 and older, and some people under 65 with certain disabilities or conditions. It's made up of 4 parts: A, B, C, and D. People have the option to get their coverage on the private market, which is called Medicare Advantage, or Part C. But Medicare experts say private insurance companies are being overpaid for the plan. The Biden administration announced 2 recent proposals that would change that. One is a rule change that would allow the federal government to recover past overpayments to Medicare Advantage insurers. It's set to take effect in April 2023. The second would update how Medicare Advantage insurers will be paid starting in 2024. But according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and Medicare experts, the Biden administration isn't proposing cuts to Medicare Advantage benefits for seniors. Some of the changes in the proposal will reduce payments to Medicare Advantage insurers, but the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services estimate the proposal will actually result in a 1% increase in payments to insurers per enrollee in 2024. Jeannie Fugelston-Bennick, Associate Director of the Program on Medicare Policy at the Kaiser Family Foundation, says,
So I think the better way to think about it is that these are improving the accuracy of the payments to Medicare Advantage plans.
So no, the Biden administration is not proposing cuts to Medicare Advantage plan benefits. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Get real.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
This is a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Okay, Ben Affleck attended the premiere of his new movie Air at the South by Southwest Film Festival and TV Film Festival. That's in Austin. It's really fun. I've been. Ben, who directed the film, was joined by his BFF and co-star Matt Damon, along with Chris Tucker, Jason Bateman, Viola Davis, and her husband, Julius Tenen, who plays Michael Jordan's dad in the movie. So the movie is about how Nike signed Michael Jordan to create the iconic Air Jordan shoe brand, but Ben explained why MJ actually isn't featured in the film. Watch.
Now, he's not in the movie because, well, for one thing, he's just too iconic and too famous. The minute you try to show somebody else and say that's Michael Jordan, you kind of lose the whole audience because, by definition, when you're that iconic, there's only one of you in the world.
I think of Erica and Jeff being from Chicago. Would you be thrown off seeing someone play Michael Jordan? Do you think he should be in it?
I thought you were calling us iconic. Now I'm disappointed.
Chicagoans.
Chicagoans.
Yeah, I think Ben's got a point in the fact that if you show Michael Jordan, people are going to want to hear about every detail of Michael Jordan. It's not a Michael Jordan documentary. It's about how Michael Jordan Air Jordans, the brand, got started. So I kind of see their point of view saying, we're just going to leave him out of this. Watch the Bulls whole thing if you want to see all about Michael Jordan. But this is how the brand got started, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, should I say it? I compared it a little bit to Jaws because in Jaws, Spielberg.
Don't say a little bit. Own it. Own it.
Okay, Spielberg had a hard time making the shark work, and what they did was he's such a big presence, Bruce the shark. You just see
Bruce.
The shark's the name Bruce. Yes,
It is.
It is. You just see the woman going like this, or you see legs, and so you don't actually see the shark, and that's actually somewhat scarier. Michael Jordan's presence looms large over this. You don't really need Michael Jordan though, because this is all about business.
That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
I think
it was horrible.
Beautiful analogy.
If we didn't see the shark, but we saw the shark.
Very few scenes.
A lot. He jumped on the boat.
One scene. One
No,
scene.
you see his fin most of the time.
He was on the boat.
Point.
Right.
No, she does not,
Yes, she
because.
does.
And if you go to Universal Studios, you could watch the whole
That's
shark.
not Jaws. That's
They
different
had it
than
at
the
the
movie.
Museum of Science and Industry for a while.
they did.
Al's a big basketball aficionado. Do you think she has a good point?
I thought that was only associated with cigar smokers. Aficionado. The only issue I have with that analogy, Tori, is that human beings already had the concept of a shark and that it's not great for them to get a hold of you. In this situation, we're talking about a concept that had not really existed before, putting a brand and a marketing and wrapping it around somebody that no one knew yet. The internet wasn't out. When you used to learn about basketball players, it was like you had to be a pure basketball junkie, like get magazines of high school All-Americans to keep up with the sport. So somebody's like, we're going to start our business, Erica, me and you, and it's with this guy you've never met and who your mom doesn't know. And think about how crazy that would be at the time. So I think it's really about the brand and like seeing that now. The Air Jordan brand is its own corner of the shoe economy market.
I prefer the shark analogy.
No.
Okay, all right.
See what you did, Sam?
I know. I'm sorry. Okay. Instead, though, the film, to y'all's point, centers around MJ's mom, Dolores, who Michael said was instrumental in the deal with the Air Jordans. Michael also insisted that the role be played by Viola Davis. So Ben made it happen. I guess MJ also wanted Chris Tucker to play his friend.
I just love that he handpicked Viola, and Viola is playing alongside her real-life husband, Julius.
I know.
And they work together a lot. They have Juvie Productions
I did not know
together.
that.
Yeah, when I went to cover the Emmanuel film about the tragedy in South Carolina, that was a Juvie production.
Oh, really?
So Julius Tenen was the one who I was interviewing.
Cool.
He's a very cool guy, very cool couple. I'm very excited to watch this movie.
You think I think this will do super well in the theaters. People love a Matt and Ben.
Do you like seeing Ben again?
Oh,
and
yeah.
with Matt?
Matt and Ben? That's a good one. Oh, yeah. Viola? Julius?
Can't wait. Okay. All right. Speaking of movies and actors, Adam Sandler was awarded the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor at a star-studded event at the Kennedy Center on Sunday. Stars like Ben Stiller, Drew Barrymore, Jennifer Aniston, they all showed up to support their friend and frequent co-star. And Conan O'Brien joked about the star of films like Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, and The Wedding Singer getting such a prestigious honor. Watch.
I come before you tonight to state, in complete honesty and sincerity, you're making a terrible, terrible mistake. Good God in heaven, Kennedy Center, what have you done? No award has screwed up this badly since a MacArthur Genius Grant was given to Vin Diesel. Seriously, people have not been this shocked since I won a Latin Grammy. It was 2019, look it up.
I love it. What do you think of this? And, you know, they go way back because I believe Conan used to write for a lot of the Adam Sandler sketches on SNL.
Yeah. Well, first of all, those jokes were hilarious, and the audience, they didn't laugh at anything.
It's a DC
Conan did a great
audience.
job.
Yeah, right.
I thought those were really funny. And really, shout out to Adam Sandler. I mean, he doesn't need it, but you go back and watch any of his movies, and they're on TNT or TBS, and you just laugh. They're all funny. They all still hold up. And what a way he does his production, right? Does it on his terms. Happy Madison Productions. Films him in the best location with his best friends. Man, I wish I was his wife.
Seriously, that's like, I could feel your jealousy.
Yeah.
They'll go to Hawaii every time with just Jen Aniston, have a blast, make $3 billion on all his films. There's an audience that has grown up with him from Opera Man and all that from SNL into this, and they all still love that sort of frat guy, dumb, funny. I mean, Billy Madison's one of the funniest movies.
Who are you describing?
No one.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's being rewarded. I think whenever we talk about our shows that we really watch, whether it's Vanderpump or Below Deck or something.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Everybody always goes, oh, so did Mine's Love After Lockup. It's like, oh, it's so dumb. It's my cheat show or whatever. But those are the shows you really like.
Yes.
And Happy Madison makes people happy. And it's like I could say a line and Jeff will respond.
Shampoo is better.
Yeah, it's a thing. And so like I think that those movies are never celebrated, but yet we talk about The Shape of Water and You're Weird, a movie that no one would ever rewatch. A lot of the movies that win Oscars people don't rewatch, but the ones people do, everybody's like, oh, I'm embarrassed to watch. It's like, there's a reason people watch stuff.
I don't think that we have to disparage more sophisticated work
And with
in order
I'd
to
like Adam Sandler
elevate
and
the
Anne
less
with an E.
sophisticated work. I don't think that anyone should feel that their pleasure has to be guilty.
Thank you.
That is a broader issue in this society.
Yes, nicely said.
If you like something, I love that for you. Say that with your full heart and chest.
That's
I
right.
felt that.
That's right.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah.
I
I
really
like
did
Love
feel
After
that.
Lockup.
I love you. Are you curious? Are you curious about how Adam thought of the whole award? Okay. Well, he took the opportunity to joke about it. Watch.
My first thought, of course, when they told me I was getting this prestigious Mark Twain honor was, of course, wow, is Twain going to be there? No, said the Kennedy Center people, to which I replied, makes sense.
I liked it.
Weird, but I think he
Yeah, I think to me, he sometimes goes into that voice when he's overwhelmed or feels uncomfortable, a little bit of a security blanket. But like, I mean, who is still being like, shampoo is better? That's a great voice. You know what I mean?
It is.
Yeah, it's funny.
And it's a weird thing, but everybody there responded.
Totally.
First of all, I thought Conan, to your point, Jeff, I thought he had some really great jokes. The crowd was not giving it to him. But I was making reference and then come to Adam and say that he was getting big laughs from that voice, which again we call silly, but he's making the crowd emote because people resonate with that.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Sam, you're going to cut my point off of I love you too.
Like, but that actually, like, how they razz on one another is like how we razz.
1,000%.
That's true friendship.
For sure.
Okay, Bruce Willis, you guys, I saw this over the weekend. It definitely drummed up a lot of feelings for me. His 68th birthday was celebrated yesterday with his family by his side, 1 month after they revealed his dementia diagnosis. Now, Bruce's ex-wife, Demi Moore, posted this video of his family singing happy birthday. Bruce looked in good spirits. He blew out the candles on his birthday pie. His wife, Emma, also posted a video talking about the struggles of being a caregiver. Watch.
I just think it's important that you see all sides of this. I always get this message, or people always tell me that, oh, like, you're so strong. I don't know how you do it. I'm not given a choice. I wish I was. but I'm also raising 2 kids in this. But I do have times of sadness every day, grief every day. And I'm really feeling it today on his birthday.
Oh, that's real. You're mourning essentially a person that you knew and loved. I mean, dementia creates a very different person.
Yeah, that's really scary.
You know caregiver trauma more than anyone.
Yeah, and I really appreciate her saying grief. There's a sense of like they're not gone yet, but they kind of are. And grief doesn't have to be only when someone's gone. It's incredibly lonely and scary, and you usually just see the good part. So really big props to this woman, Emma, for sharing that. Because I know a lot of you out there are caregivers and hospice workers, the angels on earth. That takes a toll on you, and no one really says how dark it gets.
But
and it gets dark.
Dementia is especially
cruel.
Because
so cruel.
they're a different person at the end, and it's like, especially when your kids are around and you're like, your grandfather was not like this, you know, but they don't understand. And I couldn't imagine like having to explain to my kids that like somebody that just yelled at them really loves, like how would they reference
it's
that?
Scary
it's just like
too,
this.
Yeah.
It's you're right. It's the mourning of somebody in real time, and no one talks about this because of the way we've been able to improve care. They live much longer, so you might see somebody really just disintegrate over the course of 6 to 8 years rather than 6 months, which in a weird way, there's a selfish part of you that wants them to go so they can not be in pain anymore.
My grandma's last thing she ever said to me was, "You remind me so much of someone I used to know."
Oh my God.
That's so heavy. Dude, I think about it all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
She knew I was in there. She was in there somewhere,
right.
Just not at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Weird.
Wow. Wow. Well, coming up on DBL, a pro-aging woman in her 50s who's gone viral on TikTok will be here live. How she helps other Gen X women look and feel their best. Our viewers are talking about DBL.
Yes!
I like that.
Leaves me speechless. I'm like blushing.
Thank you, thank you.
That's emotional.
Do I want to sit there and watch them? Yes, I do.
Does anyone hear me in there?
I don't have it
anywhere else. Okay, cool. No worries then.
We refer to her as, Hello, we're getting word that perhaps President Ulysses S. Grant, if you don't know, it went Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, then Grant, has actually arrested in 1872 for speeding on his horse.
Are you trying to put Jeff to sleep on that fact?
I'm saying Trump might not be the first president arrested. It could be Grant.
Well, Nixon would have been, right?
Right, but he has resigned.
Yeah.
Well,
and then Ford pardoned him.
Right, but we were saying he found out Grant was arrested for speeding on his horse.
Oh,
You got the
Let me ask you guys this, because you just brought up a really powerful point that Mark and I have been thinking about. So we want to go celebrate Bubby's 100th birthday. Bubby's a Holocaust survivor. She lives in Canada. We are all set to go. I'm starting to have a change of thought for me and the kids not to go, because she does have more periods of not knowing people and then freaking out. And I don't think Sophie and Miles equate a grandmother figure to those moments, and I think it might be damaging to them.
I saw my great aunt and she was yelling at me, and that was the only time I ever got to know her, and I have that memory in my head still. Traumatized. She was screaming, getting the napkins, being like, "My oranges," and I wish I knew Aunt Marion. That's all I know of her, and it's not a good feeling.
It's like I so badly want them to get to know their 100-year-old.
But they're not going to get to know the version of her that you want her to. And I mean, I think that's where, like, that's why you're a good parent. You're already thinking ahead of time. Yeah.
So we just stay back and Mark goes.
And let him have some space. And it's very confusing to a little kid when they don't act. They're scary, you know?
You can't explain that.
Yeah, right. Good, thank you guys. I need that. But that's a really hard decision to make.
Pan is changing how women over 50 view fashion with millions of views on her videos. She's showing the world just how fabulous 50 really is. Please welcome to the show your fashion BFF, Holly Pan.
Yeah, Holly!
Hey, Holly.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're
Hi,
so
thank you for
excited to
having me.
have you. Yes, absolutely, because in our society, fashion tends to be a younger generation thing, but you're trying to break that stereotype. So how do we keep feeling young with our fashion?
My number one tip on how to keep feeling young is to have an open mind with style and fashion. Don't be afraid to try something new. Like a new color, a new style, don't be afraid to show a little bit of skin, because when you were being bold with showing skin or wearing a bright color like what I'm wearing right now, that's a sign of confidence. And that gives people, that confidence will make you feel more radiant, and it's the best accessory.
Oh, those platform heels.
Unbelievable.
See those? Speaking of skin, when it comes to mini skirts, should we be wearing them after 50? I'm wearing one right now.
You look good, Stems.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. Mini skirt is just a style. Style has no age. So like when you get an invitation to an event, nobody tells you to dress your age. It only says dress for the occasion. So as long as the mini skirt looks good on you, you can rock them at any given age. Like my mother-in-law, she wears like tank tops at 80 years old.
Wow.
Because it looks good on her.
I'm lusting over
I
your
can
style.
tell. You're like going crazy.
Oh my
Sam's
God.
drooling while looking at the monitor.
The black look with
I know, with the hood. I know.
Sam
And the
gasped
jacket.
when that picture came up. Yeah.
Great style.
Holly, let me ask you about pastels. I don't love pastels. I'm just learning and leaning into that. Should I be leaning into that for spring? I always see them as a little wash me out a bit sometimes.
Well, pastel is a great color for springtime because it resembles all the flower that we see around. And it's a great color to have just to mix in. Even if you're not a pastel girl, you don't have to wear head to toe pastel. You can just use a pastel accessory or shoes. It's a little touch of color. It makes you feel more lively and more like fresh, like a new beginning type of, that type of feeling.
That'd be nice.
I'm a big fan of pastels.
Yeah, you do like baby pink,
I'm a
baby
big fan. It's spring. I'm also a big fan of scarves. And your videos have a very unique way to wear some scarves, huh?
Oh.
Oh,
Yes.
I wasn't even thinking
That's
that.
cool. That's like an Hermes kind of different kind of way.
Pretty.
Huh.
So
Yeah, scarves. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, what is it that you like about scarves so much?
That one.
Well, scarf is just essentially as a piece of garment. If you think about it, it's like a piece of fabric that you can add on to any of the outfits when you need a little additional touch. I usually think scarf as a building. Think about it. If you're building an outfit like you're building a Lego piece, scarf is just a piece of Lego that you can add on top of things to make your own design unique.
All right, well, I want to stick with the scarves accessory themes. What are some accessories that are must have for women?
For any women, you can be different with your style choices, but one thing that really elevate your style is accessories. So have the right accessory always help.
Whoa.
I'm talking about handbags and shoes, necklaces, scarves, all these things that can be personal. Also, you can invest in good ones, which will always make you look more put together, even if your outfit is not the most expensive one.
And Holly, for some of our viewers right now, where they're like, "Oh, I want to just be just like Holly," what's one outfit that you can recommend that will look good on everybody?
I would recommend to go with something super classy and timeless. It's the Grace Kelly style, which means a fitted top or a top that flatters your upper body, and then either a big skirt or a big pair of flare out pants, because that creates this very flattering A-shaped silhouette that pretty much looks good on everyone.
Holly, does anyone on your channel ever say you're a liar and there's no way you're 50?
I know.
Yeah, all the time.
She's unbelievable.
I'd be like, look at this 18-year-old pretending she's selling 50-year-old outfits. You look great.
I mean, thank you so much. Thank you.
Holly, thank you so much. DBL Nation, you can follow Holly on TikTok at Holly Pan or on Instagram at Holly H Pan. Let's show the younger generations just how fabulous aging is. Holly, thank you again for joining us. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Okay, I get it. It's never fun to sit down and do your taxes, but many tax professionals say the sooner you do it, the better, to either get your refund faster or make sure your taxes are paid on time without any penalty. So with inflation and lower refunds on many tax returns, we wanted to look at whether people are filing earlier or later and why.
To get answers, we looked at data from the IRS and spoke with Jackson Hewitt Chief Tax Information Officer Mark Stieber. Right as the tax season opened, the week of February 3rd, IRS data shows filers were hot out of the gate. Total returns process was nearly up 30% compared to last year.
By comparison, 4 or 5 weeks ago, it was up double digits, both total volume, taxpayers who electronically filed, taxpayers who used a professional, and taxpayers who did it themselves.
But then
it slowed way down.
By the end of February, total returns processed was only up by 4.3%.
And then it slowed down because people are probably expecting lower refunds and putting it off, or may even have balance dues. We're seeing quite a bit of that.
The latest IRS data shows the average refund taxpayers are receiving is down from $3,400 a year ago to $3,000 today. And those stats show the amount of people who have filed their taxes at this point in the season is about the same as last year. Stieber says he expects to see a large number of people file at the very last minute.
About 55 million have filed so far. So that gives you about 110 million people that have, another 4 weeks or so to file and get those taxes done.
Those 11th hour filers, Stieber says, often owe money, and they're trying to postpone that painful payment to the bitter end. With your Verified Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
Rob, that was awesome.
Beautiful, Rob. Beautiful.
Welcome back. We're all getting older, but there's an easy way to increase our health, and it's literally a breath of fresh air. It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. Today's the first day of spring, and based on a new study, experts are prescribing forest bathing. Oh my gosh, I love this. That's when you simply spend time in nature and enjoy the great outdoors. They found that this practice supports the mental, physical, and emotional health of adults 65 and older. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. Call 800-813-6801 or visit omegaxl.com for more information. We'll be right back.
Sometimes it seems like the only thing as popular as TikTok is trying to ban TikTok. For years, lawmakers have feared that because the app is owned by a Chinese company, it could give the Chinese government influence over American users and access to their data. A bipartisan group of senators just introduced a bill they say is designed to address those concerns, and the Biden administration endorsed it. But could it actually result in a nationwide TikTok ban? Let's verify. Our sources: Senate Bill 686, Senator Mark Warner, the White House, the Department of Commerce, and the Department of Justice. The bill is called the Restrict Act, and it doesn't explicitly ban TikTok, but it makes such a ban possible. It instructs the Secretary of Commerce to investigate any information technology or communications companies that are owned or could be influenced by foreign adversaries to see if they pose a national security threat. Then it gives the Secretary broad authority to mitigate any dangerous transactions. So we can verify, yes, a bill currently in Congress could result in a ban on TikTok. But there are a lot of steps to get there. First, it has to pass the Senate and the House and be signed into law by the President. Then the Secretary of Commerce would have to choose to investigate TikTok specifically, find that it poses a threat, decide the best course of action would be a ban, and successfully defend that ban against legal challenges. As for how a ban would be implemented, we don't know for sure, but one option could be making it illegal for any American company to do business with TikTok. That would force Apple, Google, and others to remove it from their app stores. TikTok, for its part, says a ban would be a bad idea, calling it an act of censorship on its American users. Some lawmakers say they don't support a ban, but would like some restrictions on TikTok, which this bill could also allow. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Some doctors' offices are using the hashtag #VasMadness to encourage men to get a vasectomy in time for the NCAA tournament. But is March really a popular month for vasectomies? Let's verify. Our sources are the Mayo Clinic, a 2018 study on vasectomies in the U.S. published in the Urology Gold Journal, and urologist Dr. Ajay Nangia with the University of Kansas Health System. A vasectomy is a medical contraception procedure that stops sperm from getting into semen. The Mayo Clinic says it takes a person a few days to heal. Nangia tells Verify around 20 years ago, a urologist launched an ad campaign to convince people to get a vasectomy and spend their recovery time watching March Madness.
Initially, it was much more of a sensationalism, but actually started becoming true. An urban legend that actually became true.
One study estimates about 500,000 vasectomies are performed each year in the U.S. Most are performed in March or at the end of the year after many people meet their insurance deductible. So, yes, March is a popular month for vasectomies. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Lots of comments. Okay, in regard to Holly Pan, Lee says, I'm over 50. I love fashion. I do what I want. I love color, and I wear hats.
Oh, cool.
I love that. We have a comment for you, Tori.
Oh.
Sherry says, I just love Tori and her trivia, probably about the shark analogy. That
Thank
was
you.
fantastic.
Thank you so much
Where'd
about
you
the
get
shark.
that about the trivia?
The Bruce is the name of the shark. I will give you guys really quick. We were wrong. President Grant was actually arrested as well, Ulysses S., right after Andrew Johnson in 1872 for speeding on his horse.
Oh, boy.
Speeding. Never showed up to court. $20 fine.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that. Before we go, we do have one last story. We do.
Oh.
New Mexico is looking for, get this, professional bear huggers. Sign me up. The Department of Game and Fish.
That could mean a lot of things.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, Jeff. Well, listen, they're looking for people to come hug the bears. Among the duties, that's the most impressive one. Part of the job would be to have the courage to crawl into a bear den and to trust your coworkers. Oh my God, you have to crawl into a bear den?
They don't get the bears for you?
What? You have to crawl into a bear den?
The bears?
What about the mama bear? That's not okay. I'm not okay. This has to be good because it's New Mexico, like, fish and game, right?
But, like, that seems entirely dangerous.
For fishing?
Are these abandoned bears? If they're abandoned bears, sign me up. I'm not going to take a baby cub from its mom.
How do we know that a bear is abandoned? And you don't want to find out either when you find out it's
with some
Oh, no, the mom's right there. Last thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, you can't.
She's not hibernating anymore. The equinox is here. But mama bear out.
It can smell very well. It can track you down. Be like, why are you hugging my
Bye, guys.
Where hope finds help. Where courage meets conviction. Where makers make fans. We are Tegna, a family of local and national media brands that bring us together, serving the greater good of our communities. Where national know-how backs local business. Be in good company with Tegna.
Our viewers are talking about DBL.
Yes!
I like that.
Leaves me speechless and like blushing.
Do I want to sit there and watch them? Yes, I do.
When I
can't
go back,
with you.
it's trouble.
Excuse me.
This is nonsense.
That is something that we need to speak
I'm
openly
so happy
about.
you said that.
Thank you, thank you.
That's emotional.
What do you mean, ho, ho, ho? What are you, Santa? We were just having a thing.
We love our DBL Nation.